Let's learn each interval in the key of C. Then we'll advance by learning modes. Starting on the 5th string, we have C, or a root note, on the 3rd fret. Flat 2nd interval on the 4th, 2nd on the 5th, minor 3rd on the 6th, 3rd or major 3rd on the 7th, to the 4th string 3rd fret for the 4th interval, flat 5th on the 4th string, 5th interval on the 5th fret, minor 6th on the 6th fret, and 6th or major 6th on the 7th fret. To the 3rd string we have the dominant 7th interval on the 3rd fret, major 7th on the 4th, and octave on the 5th. If we apply the major scale formula of the root, 2nd, major 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, major 7th, root. Starting on the 5th string, we have frets 3, 5, 7. 4th string, frets 3, 5, 7. And 3rd string, 4, then 5. Root, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, major 7th, root. Or the notes C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. When we play the major scale, root to root, we have what is called the Ionian mode. In other words, the major scale is the same as the Ionian mode. However, if we start on the 2nd interval, the D note, and play it to its octave, then we have the Dorian mode. So in the key of C, if we start on the D note and play to the octave D note, we are playing the Dorian mode. Start on the 3rd interval and play to its octave, you have the Phrygian mode. Applied to the key of C, the 3rd interval is E. So play E to E. But by maintaining the same notes used in the C major scale, we have the Phrygian mode. When you start on the 4th interval and play to its octave, you have the Lydian mode. In the key of C, the 4th interval is F. So F played to F is the Lydian mode. The 5th interval played to the 5th interval gives us the Mixolydian mode. So G to G, when using the notes from the C scale, will give us the Mixolydian mode. The 6th interval played to its octave gives us the Aeolian mode. The key of C major, using the notes A to A, is Aeolian. The 7th interval played to its octave gives us the formula for the Locrian mode. In the key of C, the B to B pattern is the Locrian mode. Here are all 7 modes played with a tempo. Apply the scale. Here, we will apply the scale degree formula derived from each mode and apply it to the C note. We already know the C Ionian because it's the same as the C major. The Ionian mode can be played over any major chord or power chord sharing its name. In this case, C major, or the C5 power chord. Anytime we see a major or 5 chord, the note that names that chord, in this case it's a C, we can play that major or that Ionian mode over those chords. The Dorian is a bit different, however. The Dorian mode uses a minor third and a minor seventh. The formula is a first, second, minor third, fourth, fifth, major sixth, minor seventh, and octave. Applied to C, we have the 5th string 3rd fret, 5th, 6th to 4th string 3, 5, 7 to 3rd string 3, 5. Again, that's a root, 2nd, minor 3rd, 4th, 5th, major 6th, minor 7th, and root. You would play the Dorian mode over its minor chord or a power chord. The Phrygian mode uses a root, flat 2nd, minor 3rd, 4th, 5th, minor 6th, minor 7th, and root. The minor 2nd gives this mode a very unique sound. Applied to C, we have the 5th string frets 3, 4, 6, 4th string 3, 5, 6, 3rd string 3, and 5. You can play this over its minor chord, and of course its power chord. The Lydian mode uses a root, 2nd, 3rd, sharp 4th, 5th, 6th, major 7th, and root. Applied to C, we have the 5th string 3, 5, 7, 4th string 4, 5, 7, 3rd string 4, then 5. The Lydian mode will work well over a major chord or power chord using the same root. The Mixolydian mode is almost identical to the Ionian or major scale. It uses the root, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, but the only change is the minor 7th interval, then back to the root. In C, we have the 5th string 3, 5, 7, 4th string 3, 5, 7, to the 3rd string, frets 5, then 7. And of course, it works over its major chord and power chord. The Aeolian mode is the same as our minor scale, consisting of the root, 2nd, minor 3rd, 4th, 5th, minor 6th, minor 7th, and root. Applied to C, it's the 5th string, frets 3, 5, 6, 4th string 3, 5, 6, 3rd string 3, 5. As we know, the minor scale can be played over its minor chord or power chord. The Locrian mode has a very unique quality to it. The formula is root, flat second, minor third, fourth, flat fifth, minor sixth, minor seventh, and root. Applied to C, it's the fifth string, frets 3, 4, 6, fourth string 3, 4, 6, third string 3, 5. The Locrian mode can be played over its diminished chord, like the C diminished. And it can be played over a flat 5 interval, like the C combined with a G flat. Instead of a C5, this is a C flat 5 interval. If you were to play it against a C major chord, a C minor chord, or even a C5 power chord, it would sound very harsh, because keep in mind, these chords use a root and a fifth in addition to the major third or minor third. But having that fifth interval will clash with the Locrian mode. It ignores the fifth entirely and uses a flat fifth and a minor sixth. So especially when you have another guitar playing, and if it's playing a power chord, C major, or C minor, if you were to play that Locrian C mode over a C chord of that nature, it would sound very harsh. However, as you'll learn, you're not just limited to playing over a chord with the same name. For example, there are other chords that include a C note, where you might be able to squeeze in a C Locrian mode. For example, the F major chord is made up of the notes F, A, and C. Since the C note is part of the F chord, there are times when you might want to experiment and try a C Locrian mode over the F chord. In some cases, it might work. We'll get into more examples of mode exploration in a bit. For now, let's run through all C modes with a tempo. In the past, we have looked at playing in key, in other words, establishing what key a song is in and sticking to that scale. That is what most lead guitarists will do when playing a lead fill or a guitar solo. However, at times you can really enhance the music you are playing by altering the scale you are using. For example, if your chord progression is a 1-4-5, in the key of C, this would be C, F, and G. Naturally, the one chord dictates what key we are in. So we already know we could use the C major scale to solo over this progression. However, you can also change keys with the chord changes. So when the chord progression changes from C to F, you can also change to the F major scale. You can go a step further and keep soloing with the F scale when the chord progression switches back to the C chord. That's because C is the 5 chord in the key of F. However, you'll want to change back to the C scale when the chord progression moves to G. And that's because G includes a B note, which would clash with the B flat, which is the 4th interval in the F major scale. So, in that case, when you do switch to the G, you can either switch to the G major scale to solo over the G chord, or you could switch back to the C scale. Now, these are some advanced concepts, and I'm just kind of throwing them at you to give you an idea of what you can experiment with to enhance your leads beyond just playing in key. Now, the major scale might be a bit too busy for your liking, in which case you might want to use the major pentatonic over each chord. So you can use the C major pentatonic over the C chord. When you switch to F, there you have the F major pentatonic over the F chord and the G major pentatonic over the G chord. And although the chords are all major, the minor scale might not work, but the minor pentatonic, as we know, will give the music a rock or blues quality. So over C, try a C minor pentatonic. Over F, although it's a major chord, use the F minor pentatonic. And over G, use the G minor pentatonic. You can also use the major modes over any major chord. So over a C major chord, you can use the C Ionian, the C Lydian, and the C Mixolydian. I'm calling these major modes because the root, 3rd, and 5th make up a major chord. In this case, C, E, and G, which make up a C chord. There are also 3 minor modes, which can be played over the minor chords. So if we have a C minor, we can play the Dorian, Phrygian, and Aeolian modes. I call these minor modes because the 1, flat 3, and 5, or 1, minor 3rd, and 5th, make up the minor chord, or C, E flat, G, in this example. The Locrian mode is built on the 7th scale degree, and it's 1, flat 3rd, flat 5th make up a diminished chord. The Locrian mode works best over a diminished chord. However, as we discussed in the past, there are times when you can sneak it in over other chords. These concepts are beyond basic, so exploration and experimentation is going to be your best bet. At this point, I think we've gone far beyond the scope of an easy DVD title, but I do want to cover a few more things and allow you to decide if you want to explore advanced lead guitar concepts on your own. As we learned in the past, the more simplified your rhythm guitar or chord progression is, the more you can do with your lead guitar work. For example, over a single power chord, you can use almost any scale or mode that we have learned. The only contrasting group of notes would be the Locrian mode, since it has a flat fifth, which would clash with the fifth interval used in a power chord. If you have the opportunity, you can tailor your lead guitar sections ahead of time, allowing you to use more scales. For example, if the song or chord progression you are playing over uses major and minor chords, or even seventh or extended chords, you can write your lead guitar section to only include power chords, which would give you the ability to broaden the scales you use and to write a lead guitar solo. If you are the only guitar player, you can ask the bass player or the keyboard player to only play single root notes or bass notes in place of full chord for your lead section. Over any major chord, you can play the major scale, major pentatonic, and at times minor pentatonic. As we know, the Ionian mode is the same as the major scale, but we can also play the Lydian mode and Mixolydian mode. If you start playing extended chords, such as sevenths, major sevenths, ninths, if you start playing extended chords, such as sevenths, major sevenths, ninths, 11ths, and 13ths, you really start to limit what scales you can use. For example, a C major 7 includes the major 7 interval or B note. In theory, this limits your use of scales to the major or Ionian, major pentatonic, and Lydian mode. If you play a C7, also known as C dominant 7, the B flat note will clash with the B in the Ionian and Lydian modes. So in this case, you're limited to the Mixolydian mode. You could sneak in the major pentatonic. And for a rock or bluesy tone, you could use the minor pentatonic. But everything else has a tendency or the possibility to clash. So when you get into these extended chords, you limit what scales and modes you can use. Therefore, if you are playing over chord progressions using extended chords, a little more research and experimentation on your part will be needed to find out what works and doesn't. Over any minor chord, for this example we'll use C minor, you can use its minor scale, which is the same as the Aeolian mode. You can use the minor pentatonic, the Dorian mode, and the Phrygian mode. You might be able to sneak in the Locrian mode because it shares the root and minor third interval. However, the flat 5 will clash over the fifth interval in the minor chord. Again, if you are able to write your own lead guitar chord progression, you might want to just drop down to a C bass note if you were thinking about playing a lead with the C Locrian mode. If you look down the chart about halfway, you'll see some common chord. If you look down the chart about halfway, you'll see some common chord progressions and some recommended scales and modes which can be played with these progressions. First, we see the 1 chord to 2 minor chord progression. To the right of the chords, you see the word yes in the Ionian and again in the Mixolydian mode columns. And all the way to the right under the pentatonic column, you see yes for the major pentatonic and some, or which means sometimes, for the minor pentatonic. In the key of C, that would be a C major to D minor chord progression. And the chart indicates that you can lead over this progression with the Ionian mode, the Mixolydian mode, the major pentatonic scale, and sometimes the minor pentatonic scale. By the way, this DVD entitles you to access to printable charts like the one on your screen right now. On to the next progression. It is a 1 to 3 minor, which shares the same notes as the Ionian and Lydian modes and the major pentatonic scale. In the key of C, play C major to E minor, followed by an Ionian, Lydian, and major pentatonic. The 1-4 chords share the same notes as the Ionian and Mixolydian modes, the major pentatonic, and you could sometimes sneak in the minor pentatonic. In C, we have C major to F major for the 1-4 chords, and of course the C Ionian mode, the C Mixolydian mode, the major pentatonic, and the minor pentatonic. A 1-5 progression shares the same notes as the Ionian and Lydian modes, major pentatonic and sometimes minor pentatonic. In the key of C, that would be C to G major, and for the lead, Ionian, Lydian, major pentatonic, and sometimes you could sneak in the minor pentatonic. On to the next chart, we have a 1 to 6 minor chord progression sharing the same notes as the Ionian, Mixolydian, major pentatonic, and sometimes minor pentatonic. That would be C to A minor, and solo with the Ionian mode, Mixolydian, major pentatonic, and sometimes the minor pentatonic. The second progression on this chart shows a 1 minor to flat 3 major chord movement, sharing the same notes as the Aeolian, Dorian, and Phrygian modes, as well as the minor pentatonic scale. In C, that's our C minor to E flat major, sharing the same notes for the lead as the C Aeolian, C Dorian, and Phrygian modes. Along with the minor pentatonic scale. And you might even try borrowing or mixing scale notes for a more unique approach. The 1 minor to 4 minor chord progression shares the same notes as the Aeolian and Phrygian modes, and the minor pentatonic scale. That would be C minor to F minor, followed by C Aeolian, C Phrygian, and minor pentatonic. Next we have the 1 minor to 5 minor progression, sharing the same notes as the Aeolian and Dorian modes and minor pentatonic scale. Applied to the key of C, we have C minor to G minor. For lead guitar, we have Aeolian, Dorian, and minor pentatonic. The 1 minor to flat 6 major progression shares the same notes as the Aeolian and Phrygian modes and minor pentatonic scale. The 1 minor to flat 6 chord progression includes C minor to A flat major with C Aeolian, C Phrygian, and minor pentatonic. The 1 minor to flat 7 or minor 7 major chord. This progression shares the same notes as the Aeolian and Dorian modes and minor pentatonic. We're calling this a flat 7 chord because we're deriving the root note from the minor scale. So in C minor, the 1, of course, is going to be C minor. The 7 is a flat 7 interval, and this is a B flat note. So the 1 minor to flat 7 chord progression would be a C minor to a B flat progression. And when you have a progression like this in the key of C, we play the C minor, B flat major, our lead guitar options would be C Aeolian, we could also use the C Dorian, and of course the C minor pentatonic. So just to run through the scales without improvising, we have the C minor to B flat, and the lead guitar options use C Aeolian, C Dorian, and minor pentatonic. So what if we have two chords that don't fit any specific scale that we've learned? So what if we have two chords that don't fit any specific scale that we've learned, like the E to an F major? You can take the notes of each chord, then combine them to come up with a scale to play over that chord progression. The E chord consists of E, G sharp, and B. F consists of F, A, and C. So we start with the E to F to G sharp to A, B, C. Next we have octave E, F, G sharp, A, B, C. And if you want to go higher, we have another octave. The E, F, G sharp, A, B, C. In scale degrees or intervals, this is a root, flat second, third, also known as a major third, fourth, fifth, minor sixth. So with this E to F rhythm, we can now play this 6-note scale, and the notes fit perfect with the chord progression. Here's a similar progression, E to F minor. We have the notes E, F, and G sharp. G sharp is used in both chords, followed by B and C. So we only have a 5-note scale to play over this progression. Here's the octave, E, F, G sharp, B, C. And another octave, E, F, G sharp, B, C. That's a root, a flat second, major third, fifth, minor sixth. Another unique chord progression is E to G major. This gives us the notes E, G, G sharp, E, and D. We have a root, a minor third, a third, fifth, minor seventh. This is getting far beyond the scope of this DVD, so let's look at a few more uncommon chord progressions, then I will leave you with a formula for creating your own lead guitar voicings for any situation. The progression we have here is a 3-chord progression moving from E to G sharp major to C minor. It's very suspenseful and I dare say uncommon. For E we have the notes E, G sharp, and B. G sharp gives us the notes G sharp, C, and E flat, and C minor gives us C, E flat, and G. Altogether, when we combine them in alphabetical order, we have E, G, G sharp, B, C, E flat. A very unique 6-note scale. Root, flat third, third, fifth, flat sixth, major seventh, and of course the root again. And here's another uncommon group of chords. E major to B flat major 7 to C minor 7. We have E, G sharp, and B from the E chord. The B major 7 gives us B, D, F, and A, and C minor 7 gives us C, E flat, G, and B flat. So this is a very strange progression, which gives us 9 notes that we can use as a scale. The E, F, G, G sharp, A, B flat, E, C, to E flat. We have a root, flat second, minor third, major third, fourth, flat fifth, fifth, minor sixth, major seventh. This goes way beyond the scope of what this title is intended to be. After all, it is called Easy Lead Guitar DVD, which can really be encompassed by the use of major and minor scales that we learned early on. The use of modes got us into intermediate and advanced theory. And now, by introducing you to the concept of customizing scales based on chords, I have opened you up to a whole new world of creativity. If this is something that interests you, be on the lookout for my upcoming title, Easy Guitar Harmony DVD, which will cover this concept in much more depth. For now, I'll leave you with a formula for doing it yourself. This DVD gives you access to a printable note chart that you can use to map out any chords and derive your own scales. Simply highlight any notes you're playing, and you'll be able to find different scale positions anywhere on the fretboard. That's it for now, and I sincerely hope you've enjoyed Easy Lead Guitar DVD, and that you now feel comfortable with what to play or not to play when writing lead guitar fills and solos. My name is Mark John Sternal, and I've enjoyed bringing this method to you.